Okay, let's get into the distraction from those types of things. Looking ahead to this evening, anything we need to think about before we pick tonight's game? Vikings, Rams in Arizona. We heard the contingency plans a couple weeks ago, like week and a half ago. This game could be played in Arizona if the air quality index is not proper. It did get moved there. It has since sold out. Can you tell us about the behind the scenes on how that came together?
Well, look, I think everybody recognized the tragedy unfolding in California and Los Angeles and people losing homes, the devastation everywhere. It's hard to imagine that you'd even contemplate playing a football game there at that time. And they made the decision officially Thursday, early evening on the East Coast, late afternoon on the West Coast to move the game to Arizona. I don't recall the league ever moving a playoff game in the postseason due to a natural disaster. I think this is unprecedented as best as I can tell. And so the Rams, obviously 24 hours later, had over 400 people on buses and planes to Arizona, their organization uprooted there. And they've spent the last few days here. And the way it's been described to me for them is it's been like a Super Bowl week because you're in another city, you're getting ready. It's a strange feeling, but really, I think the Rams are a microcosm of that city and representation of the city. Everybody, many people in Los Angeles are going through it. The Rams themselves are going through it. There are people in the organization that lost homes. And obviously, this is a distraction, this trip, this game. And then they'll go back to the reality of it all in Los Angeles. And you just hope that everybody there is okay. Obviously, the images, the pictures, everything that's going on there, it's unimaginable. And so they get to play a football game tonight and not have to think as much about it for a 3-hour window before they get back to reality.
Yeah, and obviously our positive thoughts and prayers, we said it last week, and we know it's not enough, but we are watching along with everything you're going through over there in California, down south of where I am right now. So sorry. Massive shout out to the Cardinals equipment managers, everybody in that particular building for making the magic happen. And our source says inside the Rams have said, obviously, it's been a very difficult week for our families out here. Arizona has been a net positive, an environment for players, staff, and families to get away, bond, and focus on football and not fires and or evacuations, which was all they could think about. I think even pets, we were just talking about, made the trip. I think everybody's trying to make this as conducive as possible to try to make sure this game is as fair and on a level playing field as possible. We cannot wait to watch. And thank you to football for being a great distraction this weekend. Go ahead, AJ.
Schefter, what's the latest with Mike McCarthy and his whole situation with Dallas? I know just as the show started, there's reports that Mike McCarthy is no longer going to be back in Dallas. Can you tell us what the latest is?
Yeah, the two sides officially are parting ways. They met over the course of the last week and basically had discussions about football. No business discussions. They never got to that. There were no contract discussions. And the longer it went on, the more apparent it became that clearly with Mike McCarthy's contract set to expire, him eligible to talk to teams at midnight on Tuesday, there was no movement towards a new deal. Clearly, there was a direction in which Dallas wasn't going there. And so, short time ago, Cowboy official says the two sides are parting ways. Mike McCarthy is going to become a coaching free agent. The Bears and Saints are expected to have interest in him and to talk to him. The Cowboys are now going to be in the market for a new head coach. So obviously a seismic shift in the NFL landscape. That, by the way, Pat, would be the seventh team. What did we talk about all season long?
You feel real good about it. Obviously, you said these guys all have families and everything, so it's sad and devastating, but it's going to be 7. Quarterback spots are going to be up, and 7 probably coaching positions that are going to be open. Okay, so Mike McCarthy is now headed into not the firings, but not getting another contract with the Dallas Cowboys. If we've kind of been hanging in limbo, the Patriots have already given out their head coaching job to Mike Vrabel, which I know Connor will want to ask you about here in a moment. Yeah. But does Mike McCarthy say to Jerry Jones through an entire hiring cycle already, seemingly, for coaches that have already had interviews and chit chats and everything like that with Mike McCarthy, if he wants to coach again, would have been a part of, we assume, in some of those places? Or is this standard operating procedure and Mike McCarthy understands the business?
I think Mike McCarthy understands the business. He's going to get to Chicago a few days later than expected. It's not like the Bears have hired somebody. Ideally, you would have liked to have talked to him as soon as possible.
What if they had, though? Like, what if Patriots already hired their coach? Chicago already hired their coach. The Jets, we know they interviewed 150 people. Shout out to the 33rd team putting that list together. Hey, this person's been around football before, potentially could coach. You should interview. Let's do 70 interviews. What if they hire somebody already? Like, is this common, how this whole thing worked out? How there was an exclusive negotiating window for a week after his contract already ended? Like, is this normal? And maybe we just never see it because coaches never make it to the finality of their contracts?
It's a little unusual. You haven't seen too many situations like that. I don't know if it's ever occurred before. Certainly not in recent memory. It is unique, and this is kind of the way that it's worked out. I don't think it's going to hurt either side. And the whole thing with Dallas all along was this: the way I was thinking it. Okay, clearly they're not moving forward with a deal for Mike McCarthy. So what are they doing? It wasn't ever going to get to the point in my mind where all of a sudden Tuesday was going to come, and all of a sudden Jerry Jones is going to say, "Okay, we're not doing a deal with Mike McCarthy." What am I doing? Like, again, my question.
Yeah, he missed Vrabes. He missed out on Vrabes, which could have been a possible perfect coach for them down there. He's already got this seems like more Jerry Jones stuff, which is like, I'm going to do it my way, okay? And I'm going to do this how I do it and how I want to do it. And it's like, well, Jerry, it might have worked back in the day. Now things are moving. Vrabes may be perfect Dallas Cowboys coach. No. I mean, I don't know if that's the way they want to go. But you're right, Con Man, and Connor's going to ask about that. But it's like, I thought it from big Mike McCarthy, Yinzer Mike McCarthy standpoint, like you basically held me in purgatory for a week here when other jobs have already been given out that they want to coach like me at that place, culture builder, tough guy from Pittsburgh, that whole thing. A job's already been taken. I didn't even think about it from the Cowboys' perspective. Like, you don't even get a chance to talk to Vrabes. Vrabes is already gone because you didn't even. Wild. Cowboys are so different, Schefty. Cowboys always operate such different.
Mike Vrabel, having his history with the organization that he did, I think probably that appealed to him, being in New England, even more so than Dallas. And I think probably people in Dallas know that, although I think Dallas might have been an option for him if he were a coaching free agent still out there, but he's not. So he's a Patriot head coach, and there's one fewer option, one fewer coach for the Dallas Cowboys to think about. And so now we could start wondering about all the names who could be in line to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Who? Who's the top some we should think about?
List? Yeah, who's the top of their wish list?
You know what? I do not know that factually. I really don't, because clearly
Tomlin, huh? They're thinking about trading for Mike Tomlin.
Oh, wow.
Belichick?
I don't see the Steelers trading Mike Tomlin. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Now, again, things can always change, but I don't see them being interested in trading Mike Tomlin, no matter who calls them and who checks in to see whether or not he's available.
Okay. Well, that's just Jerry Jones doing hiring here, right? Not Steven or anybody?
Well, it's Jerry's organization, and obviously Steven assists him, and we'll see what they decide to do. But this is going to be a fascinating hire, because now also, by the way, you missed out on the window to talk to some of these coaches, like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. If you want to talk to them, you can't do that now.
I'm so confused by it all, but hey, that's Cowboys, isn't it? And the thing about the Cowboys is the way they're run is because they want to work with their family. When they're laying down on their deathbed, they're not wishing to see a couple more sons come up. They're thinking, I did the right way with my family. You should be listening to this too over here, Slappy. All right. I'll see you guys later. Jerry Jones needs to get into acting full time and let his family maybe run his team. But that's my personal opinion. Let's go to Boston Connor because we just chatted all around it here.
Yeah, Schefter, let's be real here. Vrabel was going to New England no matter what. And guess what? The Patriots won the coaching cycle once again. This is a perfect hire. We're bringing cigs, we're bringing dips, we're bringing beers all the way back in New England. What are the expectations for his staff? Seen a lot of Josh McDaniels is going to come with them. Have also seen some other rumblings of different guys. Tommy Reese, because the connection in Cleveland as well, because Vrabel was there last year and so was he. Is that probably going to happen with McDaniels, or is maybe Big Mike going to say, hey, I want in on that. I'm going to go up to New England, maybe call plays for a year, not be doing the head coaching shit after how the Cowboys went this last year?
Well, I think Josh McDaniels is an obvious candidate, and I would say potentially the leading candidate for that job. If for no other reason, he's got great success as an offensive coordinator. He's been with that organization. He knows Mike Vrabel. He lives in Foxborough. The Raiders still owe him 3 more years of money. Like, it's so logical, but there is a process that you have to go through before you can hire a coordinator. But look, Josh McDaniels is as obvious a choice for Mike Vrabel's offensive coordinator as Vrabel was for the Patriots head coach. So we'll see how that turns out in the end, but would it be a surprise if Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator there? No, that would not be a surprise in the end once they go through the process.
Putting the band back together potentially up there in New England. I know Boston Connor and all the rest of the Revolution region are going to be excited, especially with Drake May being as great, seemingly, as he looked his rookie year. Congrats to the Braves. Proud of you, bud.
Hell
After
yeah,
you're
Braves.
back in the NFL as a head coach. And it's going to be good to see him have to put a half a tin in his mouth to go coach the Patriots up there in Foxborough. Going to bring back the mystique. He needs to do the half spat right there. He wouldn't do the full spat because of a shoe deal. This guy knows business, has known business for a long time. Love everything he's about. Offensive player, defensive player, head coach, position coach. Vrabel's been there, done that. As an Ohio guy, done good. Can't wait to see what the Patriots become yet again. And, everybody in Indianapolis and Pittsburgh, no fly zone, Vrabel says there. Everybody in Indianapolis and Pittsburgh and Baltimore and the cities that had rivalries against the New England Patriots. I'm not saying the Patriots felt like they were rivalries the other directions, all these cities, but all these cities that hated the New England Patriots for all those years are like, great. Now they're back. I think that's just the common belief, is that Vrabel's going to lead them right back to the promised land, AJ.
Oh, no question. I wonder how Schefter thinks with this whole Mike McCarthy situation, though. Schefter, I want to get back to it real quickly. This Bears job, do you think he's the leading candidate for that Bears job?
I think Mike McCarthy is going to be a strong candidate in Chicago and New Orleans, both. And that has implications on other teams as well, because to me, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are getting jobs in this particular cycle. Both of them are going to be head coaches if that's what they ultimately decide to do in the end. And Aaron Glenn is in play in a number of places, but most notably New Orleans and the Jets. So if all of a sudden the Saints are in on Mike McCarthy, and if he gets that job, then Aaron Glenn and the Jets would become a logical match down the line. Ben Johnson's going to get a job here, whether that's in Jacksonville or Chicago or the Raiders, but he's going to get a job too. So we'll see how that one works out. Mike McCarthy now gets put into this mix, and he'll be in play in Chicago and New Orleans. So again, you're going through all this and waiting to see how it turns out, but that's how some of this is shaping up at this point. But again, back to the Cowboys. I said to you, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, they're getting jobs. If the Dallas Cowboys wanted to talk to them right now, they cannot talk to them until their season is over. They can't.
You can't. You missed the window.
They missed the window.
AJ, I'm happy you didn't want to give Vrabel a thought at all there during that conversation. I'm happy we also went back. Happy you went back and clarified some things on the big Mike McCarthy, job search, because boy, if you wouldn't have said that and then Schefter wouldn't have hammered home the Saints opportunity, can you think about Big Mike down there on Bourbon Street? That's really what I was thinking.
He was on staff before, so he'd be coming back like he was there before.
Oh my God! What are those cakes down there that they eat? What are those French?
Beignets.
Baby.
Yep.
Oh my! Big Mike McCarthy in New Orleans would be awesome. I just thought of that now. He'd be so hot. Oh my! It would be so hot. He'd be Brian Kelly's face all the time as he ends her down in Louisiana. But we're excited to see where Mike McCarthy ends up at. Let's go back to some player stuff. D-Butch has a question for you.
Let's go to Baltimore. Obviously, a big divisional matchup coming up with the Buffalo Bills. Their Pro Bowl wide receiver, Zay Flowers, has been dealing with an injury since their last game. Any update on him, if he'll be able to come out this week or the following week if they're able to win?
I think essentially he's going to have a chance to get back for this game. I know the Ravens felt like if they could win this past week, that Zay Flowers would have a chance to be back for the divisional playoff game. Now, it's a tough injury. It's a knee. No guarantees. Let's see how the week goes. But on Monday, leading up to that huge matchup, Sunday night, 6:30, I would say that there's a chance that Zay Flowers is going to be back in that game.
Okay.
They don't need it, seemingly. I mean, if they were to get more weapon, this Baltimore Ravens team, fun to watch. That Bills-Ravens game is obviously going to be hyped up immensely. Tone has a question for you, Schefter.
Yeah, I do, Schefter. Another game this weekend between the Commanders and Lions. Coincidentally, Ben Johnson is the OC for the Lions. Tom Brady's calling that game. Tom Brady is reportedly trying to bring Ben Johnson to the Raiders. Is this a tryout for Ben Johnson with Tom Brady in the booth? How's this all working out?
Tampering.
Well, what I'd say to that, Tone, number one is I think that Tom Brady is professional enough that he's not going to look to violate or skirt any rules. And from Ben Johnson, he doesn't have to do. Ben Johnson doesn't have to do anything to impress Tom Brady any more than he already has. Tom Brady is broadcasting Ben Johnson's game. That's the way it kind of goes right now. We could come up with these scenarios, not allowed to have contact. And by the way, if the NFL hands out a memo, maybe it will, saying that Tom Brady and Ben Johnson are not allowed to talk, I can tell you this. I don't think Tom Brady really cares. He doesn't need Ben Johnson to speak to him to get ready for this broadcast on Sunday. The idea of that is absurd. But again, people get very sensitive and touchy. And so if there are rules that nobody wants to have violated, fine. Look, I think we're all adult enough to know that Ben Johnson is a primary head coaching candidate in multiple places, including Las Vegas. I don't believe that Tom Brady needs to recruit Ben Johnson any harder, and he's going to woo him on his trip to Detroit this weekend while nobody else is allowed to talk to him, and Ben Johnson's getting ready for his most important game of the season. Again, call me naive, call me silly, call me ridiculous. I think that everybody involved is professional enough to do this the right way.
All right. Well, you're ridiculous. No, you just told me to call you that. Like,
silly shit.
My wife says that too, Pat.
Ridiculous. All those. I'm envisioning it now. Cliff Kingsbury makes a bad decision. Third quarter-ish. Tom Brady goes. And that's why Cliff Kingsbury, who's been a head coach before, is nothing in comparison to Benjamin Johnson. This Ben Johnson guy just serenades him over the air in front of 30 million people, 40 million people, whatever the number is, that's going to be watching that particular game. And then you start to wonder yourself, Ben Johnson's family starts texting him saying, hey, Tom Brady was complimenting you. His mom say, hey, it was nice to hear the greatest of all time say what he said about you. And then they'll cut to the thing, and maybe Tom Brady's wearing a Ben Johnson for president pin.
Whoa.
Maybe he's even wearing one of those, and they're like, you know what, hey, Tom Brady really likes you. He seems like he has your back. He understands you. He starts talking about Ben Johnson, the man, and the family. And now you got agents and family. There's a chance Tom Brady could sway this thing in their favor, even though Ben Johnson is picking and choosing which particular job he wants there. I hadn't even thought of it until Tone just brought it up. Wow. It's a real conundrum the NFL is in, Schefter. It's a real conundrum.
It's not fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Isn't it ridiculous? There's so much ridiculous stuff that could happen. I feel like Tom Brady has done a phenomenal job getting better each week. And
by the way, I think Tom hears those comments and sees those comments and is laughing. And is like, are you serious? Are you effing serious? That's Tom's reaction. Okay? Let me speak for him there. If you don't mind.
Okay, good. Well, I'm happy that the greatest of all time is on the call, but they have been calling for conflicts of interest basically all year. It's seemingly going off without a hitch. He's very hands-on in this hiring process. They've been reporting that a lot. And then I saw somebody say that some GMs and coaches might not like that. It's like, well, who gives a fuck? Like, what are we talking about? Is that real, Schefter? There's some people saying they don't like that Tom Brady. Who was that? Anything sweet? Was that Mike McCarthy?
Yeah.
People are very sensitive. No, people are just very sensitive about rules and wanting things done a certain way. And so Tom will listen to the rules, will abide by the rules, and he can't.
No, forget that. You missed it. You were reading a text. I was asking you. There were some coaches allegedly and GMs that said allegedly. I forget who reported it. It might have been you. Might have been another insider that is not at your level. Obviously, Schefter, we talk about that. Somebody said that some coaches and GMs don't necessarily like how hands-on Tom Brady has been. Is that true? Is that real?
Hands-on. I don't think he's been very hands-on at all so far.
Not in the interview process. He's not. Tom Brady's not involved in the interview process.
He is involved in it, but it just got underway. How can we even say that he's too hands-on? And by the way, isn't that why you brought in Tom Brady to be involved? I don't understand. That's why you included him in your ownership group and made him a part of the process, is to have him involved. And we're getting underway with an initial wave of it. He's already too involved. What did he do in virtual interviews that he's too involved?
Got it. So he is, though, very involved in the hiring process. Do we all agree?
He is. Very. He is involved. He owns a piece of the team. He's Tom Brady. He's doing he's doing work the way he would. I don't know who involved. Very involved. He's involved. He's Tom Brady.
Okay. He's involved.
Sounds like a lot. Guys, you're too close to it, Chef. You're two Michigan guys, two pals.
Well, it sounds like Tom Brady, when Tom Brady gets involved in something, he's pretty not all in. Does feel like that, doesn't it? I think he hasn't had sugar in 15 years or something like that. If he's in there running that interview, though, and being an actual owner, I'd be excited to hear how he questions people, what he's trying to learn about people, who he thinks is going to be the next head coach. I'm very intrigued if Tom Brady's making this decision on who he thinks would be the best head coach. Legitimately, I'm kind of pumped to find that out. Because is he one a good play caller, culture setter? What is he? Is Big Mike McCarthy in play for the Raiders?
Oh, yeah. What about that?
Look, it just happened. I hadn't heard his name there until now, but it's certainly possible it could be.
I'll say Brady's we need a culture guy in here, and he brings in Big Mike, and we can find a play caller anyway. How Tom views it, I'm very intrigued to see how it works out.
I think there are certain guys that absolutely have Tom's respect and curiosity. And look, he's had an unbelievable opportunity this year to go around each week and meet with people. He gets to observe himself who's impressive and who's not. If you're in a different building and you're with two different organizations every week over the course of 18 weeks, that's 36 different weeks that Fox has paid you to get to know people around the league and to see who has and hasn't impressed you. Just by doing his job himself, he's been able to glean all kinds of insights and information into who he believes are the best coaching candidates out there. And now when they're putting together the list, when they're going through the candidates, he can apply everything that he's seen from this year. I don't know, has Fox done, has Tom done, and I don't know the answer to this, a Lions game yet so far this year? Has he? I'm sure.
I believe they did Lions-Packers.
Yeah. Did they do Lions-Cowboys? I don't know about that.
I'd assume at 425. Game of the week, probably.
Yeah, Cowboys 425 on Fox. We'd assume at some point it was there.
I think they did.
Is Tom going to keep doing both? Going forward, he's going to be this hands-on in Vegas. Is he going to stay in the booth with Fox?
That's his call. I have no idea how he's going to work it, but I expect him to be involved as the Raiders owner, yes, as a limited owner.
Sounds like he's kind of cheating a little bit.
Well, this is all the conflicts of interest that everybody's been talking about. That's why a lot of people don't think the Tom Brady contract is going to end up being fulfilled by Tom, because they think that it's going to get too loud. But if he's an actual owner, I'm pumped to watch him. Whatever the case is, good luck, Tom. Let's talk about another coach that's name has been thrown into the NFL coaching search, even though Schefter, Chuck Pagano accurately predicted, feels like this might be a little bit of a business play by Notre Dame head coach who just signed a 4-year extension. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Schefter, it seems like it is kind of a fugazi, but the Bears have reached out or expressed interest in interviewing Marcus Freeman for their head coaching job. And obviously, with what Notre Dame's doing, I think it probably is more of a business play. But then also a couple weeks ago, you mentioned, keep an eye out for Steve Sarkisian as well. And when you look at the Cowboys, because they are kind of so late in the game, and it seems like a lot of these marquee coaches are almost already spoken for. Do you think the Cowboys potentially would reach out to like one of these hot college coaching names that are up? And ultimately, Marcus Freeman, he's not even going to entertain that at all, correct?
I have heard that Marcus Freeman is happy at Notre Dame. He did sign that deal recently. I don't know whether that's leverage or not. I have no idea. I don't have direct information beyond that. Steve Sarkisian is a name that has swirled around out there in NFL circles for weeks now. His season's over. They're a team. If there were a team that wanted to talk to him, they obviously could go do that. And we'll see whether or not he has interest in going back to the NFL. But that's a name that's been out there for a little while, that there will be NFL teams that would have some interest. So we'll see if that actually now happens.
Okay, when's the first hiring? Who does the first hiring?
New England today, Mike Vrabel.
Boom! They're setting off a jet in here, Schefter. I don't know if you're hearing it. I'm live at the S&P Shark Tank over here. It's been a blast. Good luck tonight. Where are you at? Are you at the game in Arizona?
Yeah, I am in Arizona right now. I am literally going over to the stadium as we speak. As soon as I hang up with you, I only have 26 missed texts and calls here, so we'll be on the phone here and getting ready for tonight's broadcast. Vikings at Rams in Glendale, Arizona.
26 missed calls. Is that producer? Is that like Mike McCarthy's camp? Is that the Cowboys camp? Who would that be on this particular Overreaction Monday?
That's Zito, Ty, Tone, Connor. Everybody wants to know, about their own football teams. A lot of angry fans, pissed off Steeler fans.
Oh, nice.
A lot of those.
Way to go.
What's going on there? What ends up inevitably happening there? Pittsburgh.
My guess would be, look, they're pretty easy to predict. They're a pretty stable place. So I think if you bet on things not changing all that much, you're probably going to be right. And obviously they're going to have to make some changes. They've got 2 quarterbacks who are free agents, and we'll see how that works out.
All right. We appreciate the hell out of you, ladies and gentlemen. Senior NFL insider from ESPN, who missed 27 text messages. Now we would assume because he talked about the Steelers again, Adam Schefter.